Okay, welcome back to another edition of the School of the Regista. Again, we're on our Thursday session, so we're focusing on qualities of being a leader. And today, it's kind of one of my favorite things to talk about. We're focusing on what we call the 6-to-1 ratio, and this is a challenge for players who want to be leaders. And again, think about the beginning of this Regista program. I expect all of our players want to be leaders because I think you join Capital Soccer Club to become a good soccer player, but also to become a leader. And I think everybody's capable of doing this. But you'll see today, the 6-to-1 ratio, it's a difficult thing to do. And you'll see we ask people, are they willing to pay the price? And we'll get into that as we go through. But here's a pretty common thing that I hear usually frustrated players say is, look, I would like to lead coach, but my teammates just don't want to hear what I have to say. They don't listen to me. And again, it's a common concern of athletes who aspire to be leaders. Their teammates, or maybe it's not all of their teammates, maybe it's just some of their teammates, or maybe it's just one or two of maybe the selfish players, the stars of the team, possibly, who don't have to be selfish, but maybe they just don't feel like they need to be told what to do. But just in general, people don't like to receive any instructions. I think it's just kind of a natural human thing, is that we just want to go out there and do our thing, and especially don't want to necessarily hear instructions from our peers. So it's a common problem. So if you've thought about this before, you're not alone, that's for sure. But there's probably a good reason why their teammates don't like to hear what they have to say. They don't say enough good things. It's just general human nature. Like, you want to be told that you're doing good things, and you want people to see the good in you and see the things that you're doing well. And the bottom line is that most people don't listen to what their teammates say, or really, and you can apply it to coaches too. They don't listen to what their coaches say because they don't feel like their teammates are telling them enough good things, right? When I'm playing, I want people to say, wow, you did a great job doing that one thing. So really, kind of few players really realize this and guess that this is usually an easily altered problem. But if you want to be a leader, you have to be willing to pay the price. Okay. In a team sport situation, as well as in personal relationships, you should plan on saying 6 good things for every correction or criticism. Okay. And so I don't even want to limit this to the soccer pitch. I think this is something that you should try to bring into your life in general. This 6-to-1 ratio. Plan on saying 6 good things for every correction or criticism. And make sure the 6 good things come first. Okay. Everybody wants to hear the good things first, and then maybe the little bad thing. Right? Give me the good news first and the bad news later. And so when we talk about, are you willing to pay the price, and why is it 6-to-1, right? Why is it not 1-to-1? Think of it in this way. Imagine a machine that only gives out dollar bills, okay? That only gives out single dollar bills, all right? To get $1 bill, you have to put in 4 quarters, right? So you have to pay in 4 quarters to get $1 bill out, okay? So each time you want 1, you have to put in 4. This analogy is a good one, but it doesn't quite work in sports or in relationships. 4 really isn't enough. You actually need 6 most of the time, okay? And this is kind of based on a lot of research, is that people want to hear at least 6 good things before they'll ever consider taking any criticism, okay? And again, it's just basic human understanding. And so I also want to emphasize how important it is to say those things, those 6 good things, before you say anything bad. Um, and I want you to think about it in a deficit situation, okay? And a deficit just kind of means if you're in a negative hole, right? So are you in a compliment deficit with your teammates already when it comes to the 6-to-1 ratio? So if you've already built up a certain level of animosity or negative relationship with some of your teammates, you are probably far behind with a serious deficit going against you. Okay, right? So for every one bad thing, you have to say 6 good things. Okay, so if you are saying a lot of bad things, that means you are in a deficit of saying good things. So you need to make up, right? If you're thinking that you're at 0 and you say a few bad things, that means just to get back to 0, you're going to have to say a lot of good things to make up that work. Okay, that's what we mean by in a deficit. Every time you say a bad thing, you're setting yourself back with that teammate. Okay, the only way that you can even hope to get back to normal, or let alone somebody listening to what you're going to say, is by making up all of those compliments and then giving 6 more once you're at 0, so that you can get into the positive. Um, and here's the thing, most athletes, and we talked about this when we talk about spirit, right? Most athletes are pretty quiet and then suddenly speak up when something goes wrong or they're irritated, right? So we all know we have teammates who are quiet, but then when things start to boil over, it gets negative, and unfortunately devolves from there. If this has ever happened to you, okay, you may have said 10 or 12 bad things already against a very few, if any, good things. Okay, so in other words, if you've start a practice in a really bad mood and you say 10 criticisms to teammates, um, that means just to get back to normal, you're going to have to say 60 compliments by the end of that practice, right? If you did 12, you're going to have to get 72 compliments to get back to 0. So again, think about it. If you're trying to pay the price, right? You're trying to pay your teammate with compliments, and the only way that they're going to listen to anything that you say is if you are at least 6 compliments in the positive, right? You are at least 6 compliments ahead. So anytime that you give a criticism, you're going back and back and back. And again, if you're thinking of it from a financial point of view, no bank in the world is going to lend you money with a payback record like that. If you're giving 10 bad things to 0 or very few positive things. So if you are in this deficit, okay, in this kind of situation, you are right that no one wants to listen to you. Okay, if you are the person that's constantly saying bad things, if you're criticizing your teammates, nobody wants to listen to you. I would not want to listen to somebody who is constantly saying bad things. All right, we've probably all played with teammates who are like that. I can certainly think of a lot. Well, not a lot of teammates, but there's definitely teammates that stand out in your mind, right? That they never say a good thing about you. They're only pointing out the bad things about you. Okay, those are not the people that I listen to on the field. Those are not the people that I listen to on the court. If you want to be a leader, you have a lot of catching up to do. So again, if you are in that hole of 60 or 72 compliments because you had 10 to 12 bad things to say, you need to make up that deficit, right? A lot of work. You have to give out 60 to 72 compliments and then plus 6 just to get in a position to offer some constructive criticism to help the team. Okay, so again, 6 good things to the one thing that you want to get across to your teammates. That's what we mean by paying the price. Okay. Are you willing to pay the price of leadership, right? 60 to 72 compliments just to get to a position where if I give 6 more, then that's the first thing that somebody's going to listen to me. If that sounds too much to you, then it's no surprise that you're not the leader that you would like to be. Okay, and it goes back to that original question. Nobody's listening to me. All right. If giving compliments sounds too hard to you, and giving a lot of compliments sounds too hard to you, then you're not going to be the leader that you want to be. Leadership requires a great deal of positive feedback, encouragement, and promotion, okay, elevating that player before you can even expect corrections or criticisms to be successful. Okay, so you can bark all day long at your teammates about what you want them to do. Ain't nobody going to be listening to you if you're somebody who never gives out compliments. Okay, and the only way they're going to listen to you is if you give out a lot of compliments. Okay, it's not enough just to be a good soccer player or lead by example. You have to be ultra positive, ultra energetic, and really promoting your teammates as best you can. Most athletes, most players, after hearing a requirement like this 6-to-1 compliment ratio, and getting out of that compliment deficit that they've built up for themselves, they kind of shake their heads and they just get a blank look on their face. They don't associate all of those compliments, 80 compliments possibly just to get somebody to listen to you. They don't associate 80 compliments with the phrase they've heard over and over. You have to be willing to pay the price, okay? And maybe you've heard people say this before. You have to pay the price if you want to be a good player. You have to pay the price if you want to be a leader, okay? A lot of people don't associate this with paying the price, but this is what it means. They see that paying the price as a requirement for hard work, but not as a requirement to have to praise people they don't necessarily like, maybe, okay? Right? Sometimes you don't like all of your teammates. That's okay, but if you want to be a leader, the price to pay is to compliment people you don't like. They thought they knew the price of leadership, right? You maybe thought you knew what the price of leadership was, but it turns out maybe you're not even in the ballpark. Okay? If this has not ever entered your mind as being something that's important, or trying to convince your teammates to do something that you want, and this has never entered into your mind before, and all you've done in the past is after the fact criticism, or only seeing the things that they do wrong, you have a lot of work to do with your teammates to get into a position where they're even going to consider taking your advice. All right, how about this question though? How do we praise somebody who is messing up? Is it possible to praise somebody who is messing up? The answer is yes, and this is easy, okay? Well, maybe not easy in practice, but it's easy in concept. Overlook the stuff they're messing up on, okay? Overlook all that stuff. They're going through a tough patch, fine, whatever. Overlook that stuff. Compliment only the good things you see. And sometimes you're gonna have to look hard, okay? And sometimes it's painful to overlook the things that need correcting, right? If they're messing up and they're really messing up, I get it. Sometimes it's hard to hold your tongue and not comment on it. But that's your problem, okay? That's your problem as the leader. It's not their problem. They're trying their best, okay? They probably know that they're messing up, okay? It's your problem. If you want to be a leader, if you want to pay the price, you have to be able to find the good things that they're doing, okay? And trust me, you can find good things that every single player on the field is doing. It might be very small, but you can find the good things, okay? If you want to get people to start listening to you, you have to start saying things they like to hear, okay? And don't get me wrong, not being dishonest, okay, not making up things, right? If they're not having great first touches, then you don't say, hey, that was a great first touch if it goes to the defender. You don't have to make things up. You're just commenting frequently on things that are good. And what you really have to do is be prepared for this, okay? And this time, this period that maybe we're in a lockdown is a good time to just sit and think about compliments and actually physically write them out things that you can point out that players are doing well, even if it's really little things that maybe don't have a huge impact on the game. But if you're able to sit down and figure out ways to put new, fresh, realistic, and sincere compliments out there, you will be in a position to make a suggestion or correction to that player in the future. And maybe going back to that first question, that objection about inattentive teammates is no longer a problem for you. So again, let's revisit this. I would like to lead, coach, right? But my teammates don't want to hear what I have to say. They won't listen to me. Yes, they will. People like listening to people who say good things to them 85% of the time. All right. People like listening to people who have sat at home thinking of better ways to give compliments, right? If I go to practice and I'm being constantly showered with these compliments from somebody, and they're sincere and they're meaningful and they're specific and they're using my name, that is making me feel like I'm on top of the world. Even if I know I'm not playing that well, if they're pointing out things that I'm doing well, it's going to make me feel really good, and it's going to motivate me to do better for them, right? You want to play for the leaders on your team. And if you can be somebody who can come up with those compliments, then you'll be a great leader. And the bottom line is hard work. A lot of people don't want to do that hard work, especially this kind of hard work, right? This isn't about going out in your backyard and juggling and knocking the ball off the wall and going to play a bunch of games and getting physically fit. This is taking time to be deliberate and specific and caring about your teammates. If you're not willing to pay that price, then you're not really in a position to tell your teammates what to do on the field. So I'd encourage you all to kind of embrace this challenge, to embrace this leadership challenge, and pay the price of sitting down and thinking about your teammates, their personalities, and what are the good things that they do, and start to write out the compliments so that you have them ready in your back pocket when you get to training or you're in your Zoom workout, and you can give them those compliments. So lastly here, what are some examples of good compliments? And again, good compliments have to be specific. They have to be sincere. I think they have to have an element of what you want to reinforce your teammates doing, okay? And we talked about being a reminderer and giving reminders about positive things that we want our teammates to focus on and do. Compliments are a great way to address these things after the fact. So you give a reminder, they do it, you give them a compliment afterwards. You're just reinforcing all of that, those good habits and those positive behaviors on the pitch. So here's the first one that I wrote down. Adam, you did a great job of killing that ball before trying to do anything else with it. It was a really tough pass to handle, and you did it really well. Okay, so again, I'm using their name. I'm using the positive tone, right? I'm giving them the specific information, and I'm making eye contact. I'm not physically talking to Adam here, but I would be making eye contact with them. And again, this is that night communication that we talked about when we talked about communication. All right, so that's an example. And again, notice I'm killing the ball, right? We have this vocabulary that we're building up, killing the ball, play from the spot. Tough pass to handle. They just got it under control first, and then did something with it. Okay, next one. Sadie, I'm really impressed with how you were able to check your shoulder to see that you had space to turn that last possession. Keep it up. Okay, so again, night communication, specific, and thinking about checking your shoulder, right? The 3-moment method that we talked about last week. Again, specific information. How about another one? Brio, the way you communicated with Lewis when he was under pressure really made a difference. It was incredible how specific you were and how easy it made his job for him. Okay. Goalies, and Brio's a goalie, goalies love positive feedback. Okay. So really build up your goalkeepers as much as possible, and really focus on the communication aspect with goalkeepers. Flip it, goalkeepers, it's on you to constantly be giving compliments out on the field. Another one, Maeve, that pass to Chloe's feet was perfectly weighted. I love to see the ball get played into feet with so much pace. Again, this is something that we talk about all the time. When we're passing to feet, we want that ball kind of drilled in there so it gets there. And again, Maeve did it well. I tell her about it, and we're reinforcing that positive behavior. And then the last one here, Cam, I see how you threw that defender off by taking a few steps in the opposite direction before sprinting in behind them. That was brilliant. Okay. And again, the 2-run principle that we did on Tuesday. This is the communication that I talked about in the 2-run principle. You're reminding, maybe I'm reminding Cam to again, check away from the spot that you want to go to. He does it. I reinforce it with a compliment. Okay. So I'm kind of sandwiching with the reminders and the compliments. I'm sandwiching what I want Cam to do there in that situation. Okay. So again, as a leader, be willing to, pay the price here, but sit down and write out your compliments. Okay. Sit down and write out your compliments. And the quiz that I have for today that I want you to do, the last question is write out 6 compliments. Okay. And I also want you to think about the deficit that you're in right now. Think about, and let's call it maybe a clean slate at the beginning of this season. If you only had one practice before you got it, before the lockdown here, that's fine. But think about how many criticisms you've given out and how many compliments maybe that you've given out, and think about the deficit that you're in, and start preparing yourself for your next training session or your next Zoom session, and see if you can start to clear out that deficit, and then start to go the other way, and keep track of that. Right? Again, be willing to pay the price. Keep track of how many compliments that you're giving during a training session. Keep track of how many criticisms that you're giving during a training session, right? If you're ending a training session, you're like, wow, I pointed out 5 things that people did wrong during that training session. I'm not sure if I gave out as many compliments that I needed to in order for people to follow the directions that I was giving them. So this 6-to-1 ratio, and that's the way that you should be thinking about it. 6 compliments to every 1 criticism. It's really important, because if you're not being positive, if you're not being genuine, if you're not being specific, you're not paying the price to be a leader, and nobody's going to listen to you. It's just as simple as that. Nobody's going to listen to you. And again, we might think that people are listening to us. Clearly, some people are not listening to us, but don't fool yourself. If you're only giving out criticisms, don't fool yourself into thinking that you're being a leader because you're talking a lot. The communication that you give out has to be positive. You have to be building up your teammates, and most importantly, you have to be genuine about it. You can't get out there and jokingly make compliments to people, or you can't be picking out superficial things to talk about, like, oh, nice shoes or nice haircut or anything like that. Focus on the game, focus on what that player is doing well, and build them up. Because again, we've talked about it before, positive communication elevates the human experience. All right. So I hope you take this 6-to-1 compliment to criticism ratio and embrace it and bring it into your soccer game, but also bring it into your life as well. Because I think if you bring this 6-to-1 compliment to criticism ratio into your life, you'll see that your relationships are just going to elevate. and it's a really really cool thing to see.